The Last Supper's had a dark secret that has divided Christianity for almost 2,000 years. Jesus held up the bread. He held up the wine. He said, "This is my body. This is my blood." And the interpretation of that one sentence has divided the church into two massive camps. The Catholics and the Orthodox believing that it's the physical body of Jesus, and the Protestants believing that it's only a metaphor. One of these sides is fundamentally wrong, and I needed to know which is right. And to find out, we have to look at four things. So we have the dark secret at the table, how Satan corrupts Scripture, how Jesus actually uses metaphors, and what really happened in John 6. Let's start with number one, because a dark, secretive spirit was sitting at the table, twisting it from day one. Not Jesus, not his disciples, but if you want the real truth, who was there? We have to look in John 13. Verse 2 drops a chilling detail. The devil had already prompted Judas to betray him. Satan, the devil, he wasn't just observing from a distance. He secured a seat at the table through Judas. But it gets worse. In verse 27, as soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered him. This is why we have to know how the devil works so we can defend the truth from being twisted. It's scary until you realize the Bible gives us an example of how Satan twists Scripture. In Matthew 4, Satan doesn't show up with a pitchfork or invent a lie out of thin air, but he takes a spiritual truth and he turns it physical. Then the devil took Jesus to the highest point of the temple and said, "If you were the Son of God, jump off. For if the Scriptures say, he will order his angels to protect you. They will not hold you up with their hands, so you won't even hurt your foot on a stone." But Jesus responded, "The Scriptures also say, you must not test your God." Jesus didn't fall for the trap because he knew the verse was metaphorical, because he read all the Scriptures. Satan tries to trap us in strict literalism, just like Jesus, which is the exact trap he set that created a 2,000-year split over the Last Supper. So to figure out which side is actually right about the Last Supper, look at how Jesus actually spoke. He was a master of the metaphor. If we only look at the singular book of John, Jesus says, "I am the door." Is he wood with hinges? He says, "I'm the true vine." But is he a plant? Again, he says, "I'm the good shepherd," but he didn't seem to have any sheep. "I'm the light of the world," but he wasn't a big bright ball of gas. Like, he's not the sun. I don't think so. So why would he be the bread and wine? If every other time he uses an "I am" statement, he's making a spiritual metaphor. If you go talk to Catholic scholars, they're going to immediately point to John 6 and claim that Jesus meant it literally. They argue that when Jesus talks about eating his flesh in verses 35 and 51, he switches from the standard Greek verb for eating, phago, to trogo, which literally means to gnaw or chew. They say, look, he's commanding them to physically chew his actual flesh. First off, I go, hey, a metaphor is literal. But here's what they conveniently leave out. Jesus didn't have to explain that he wasn't a wooden door or a literal plant, because everybody already knew those were metaphors. But when it came to the bread of life, he knew how the enemy was going to twist it. That's why in verse 63, after 35 and 51, verse 63, when he's explaining what he meant to his disciples, Jesus stops the confusion and he clarifies it. The Spirit gives life. The flesh counts for nothing. The words I have spoken to you, they are full of spirit and life. He literally spells out that his words are spiritual, not physical. So when we look at the conclusion, it becomes clear. Like, Satan entered the upper room wanting misunderstanding. And the dummy used the same old trick he did in Matthew 4, forcing a literal meaning on a spiritual truth. A spiritual truth. But Jesus was the master of metaphors and spoke about the bread the same way that he did the door and the vine. He knew what Satan would do, so he made a clarification in verse 63 that his words were spiritual, unlike all the other "I am" statements he made. The devil came looking to set a trap, but he didn't know he was walking to one that Jesus already set for him. If that explanation taught you anything, hit that subscribe button and drop a like, because it really supports me and helps me push the truth to more people like you. We've got to team up to spread the message. So drop a comment about something I missed or your thoughts on the issue. I'll see you in the next one.